friends? Welcome, welcome. Happy 2022. Hope you guys are all doing fabulous. I'm stoked to be doing some yoga with you into this new year. I want to start us out just in a cross-legged position. So bring yourself to the front edge of your sit bones. You can pull the flesh away or you can walk it back. And then close your eyes. Take a big exhale, release all the way down to empty. Draw your air into your low belly and your low back, into your mid-abdomen and your mid-back. Fill all the way up to your chest, all the way to your shoulders. Once you've got that full breath, just relax and hold. And then exhale for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, breathe in low belly, low back. Breathe into your mid-abdomen and your mid-back. Fill all the way up to your chest, all the way to your shoulders. Once you've got that full breath, just hold and relax. And then release for 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So fire up your Ujjayi breathing. So slow, deep inhales through the nose from the bottom up to the top, like you're sipping the air in through a straw. And then exhales out through your nose like you were fogging up a mirror. What I love with just starting to practice controlling our breath like this, we get to let go of anything that we don't need to be holding on to right now. You start to let these layers melt away. And we start to get down to just enjoying being right here in this present moment, in this present experience. And finding that peace and beauty with what is right here and right now. So let this breath that we're setting right now, let this be your guide for your experience. And then just take what works for me and leave the rest behind. Keeping the eyes closed, take inhales to sweep your arms out wide, stretch up tall to the sky, breathe in. And then exhales where you press your palms together and just draw your hands down into your chest. And just take this a couple times at your own pace, letting your breath just guide the movement for your body. The next time that your hands come down into your chest, we can just bring the eyes open to a soft gaze up front. Casually lean back on the hands. Extend your legs out in front of you and just give a little roll out through your ankles. Pump through your knees. Leave that left leg extended in front of you and just bring your right leg in towards your body for a cradle. Find some length up through your spine. You can use extended arms. You could go in deeper with your elbows or with your forearms. And then to set up a seated twist, just bring your right foot to the outside of your left thigh. Leave that left leg extended or bend your knees so the heel's to the outside of your right sit bone. We're setting up a twist where we're going to turn over to the right wall, so you could wrap your left arm to the outside of the leg or elbow to the outside of it. Right hand is behind you, and if you haven't yet, take an inhale just to reach up tall through your body. And on your exhale, twist from center and take your gaze back across your shoulder. Hold your body in this twist, and then just allow that breath to move through the body. And we let that ebb and flow of the breath inside of this twist help our body just to release a little bit deeper. Leave your body right where it is, or just tilt your left ear forward in space towards the left shoulder, stretching out the right side of your neck. And then you could lift your chin up in space to get to the front edge, or let your chin come forward and down to find the back edge. If you've got your head tilted to the side, take an inhale to reach up tall through your spine, face over to the right, and on your exhale, twist from center and get all the way back. Release to center. Take your legs out in front of you. Just give a little roll out through your ankles, move through your toes. And then this time we'll leave that right leg extended and grab your left leg and start to cradle your left leg in towards your body. Again, use your elbows, use your hands, use your forearms. If you're starting to curl in through your spine, see if you can get that chest up a little bit in space. And then for your seated twist, just take your left foot to the outside of your right thigh, right leg extended, or bend the knee so the heel's to the outside of your left sit bone. We can wrap the right arm to the outside of the left leg or bring the elbow to the outside of the knee. Just press your left hand behind you. Inhale to reach your spine up tall in space. Breathe in. And when your exhale comes, take that twist from center back across your shoulder. Hold and breathe. And again, just paying attention to the sensations in your body, feeling that movement of breath, listening to the sound that you're creating with your breath. Bringing that awareness into your back, into your shoulders, your hips, your neck. You stay right in that twist, or just start to tilt your right ear forward to your right shoulder, stretching out the left side of your neck. And again, you can lift your chin up to find the front edge of your neck, or let your chin come down to find the back edge of the neck. Just working through any tension that you encounter. Nice, and if your head is tilted to the side, let's use an inhale just to reach up tall, face over towards that left wall. And on your exhale, one more twist from center, all the way back across your shoulder. Get down to empty. We'll release back forward, uncross the legs, and then set up one more on our sit bones, bringing ourselves into cobbler's pose. So Baddha Konasana. Bottoms of your feet are together. Scooch onto the front edge of those sit bones. And then lift up tall through the chest. Breathe in. And as you exhale, take that length in your spine. Hinge forward. Gaze will come down. Crown of the head will reach forward. And your hands are to your ankles or your feet like you're reading a book, or your toes or the ground. You can stay still from your torso. You could also explore any little side-to-side movement through your torso while you're here. Elbows can stay relaxed, or you can let the elbows give a gentle press down into your legs, helping to open the hips and the knees up. So just riding out those waves of breath. Nice. Get down to the end of the breath. And then slowly just start to roll yourself back up in space. We'll take one more cross-legged position. Reach your right palm forward like you're telling somebody to stop, and let the left hand grab against the fingers of the right and gently pull back. You can leave your palm facing forward. You could also change up the angle. It could point down or to the side. We're just getting a big stretch into that wrist. And it's not about overdoing it, right? It's about finding that right level of sensation that feels good to your body today. You can take the back of the hand forward in space. Your fingers are down, and same thing. You're going to let those left fingertips grab onto the back. And then whether the hand is pointing down or whether it's pointing forward, you're bending the elbow or keeping the arm straight. Just exploring that stretch in that wrist. You can release and just give your right wrist a nice roll out in space, and then we'll do the same thing with the left hand. So putting that palm forward like you were telling somebody to stop, and then letting the right hand draw back against the fingers, and just give that gentle pull backwards in space. And again, arm stays, that left arm can stay straight, or you can bend through your elbow, change up where you're pointing. Cool, let's point the left fingertips down. The back of your hand is forward. Right hand pulls against it. And then just a roll out. Right on. Take your legs out in front of you, and then with your fingers pointing forward, bring your palms down at shoulders distance. You're going to open your chest up, so you're kind of already arcing through your back. The shoulder blades are pulling in, and then we'll press down into the hands, lift the hips off the ground, and you're letting those hips lift up high as you press down into the strength of your arms. You can keep your chin right in towards your throat. You could also take your gaze up in space. You leave the legs extended, or for reverse tabletop, step the heels in so they're underneath your knees. You're pressing to the feet, lifting up through the hips. We won't be here super long. Stay with that breathing. This is one of those few yoga postures where I think we can really feel the strength of our triceps working behind in our arms as well. If you're in that reverse tabletop, one at a time, extend your legs out in front of you. Give a nice full round of breath just to lifting up. And then you can, on the exhale, slowly lower the hips down to the ground. And we're going to move forward and find our tabletop. Yeah, and if your wrists need a little bit more, right on. Give a little bit more roll out. Once we hit into our tabletop position, we can find our work in cat and cow, start our work in cat and cow. So whether you're inhaling into that bow cow, dropping the belly, lifting the chest, and then just exhaling directly into cat, where you're dropping the head, letting the mid-back lift high, dropping the tailbone. Or if you're taking more than just an inhale or more than an exhale, like a full round of breath. Let the breath lead the way here for the movement. So slow, controlled breathing turns into slow, controlled movement in the body. Can feel super good just to lean a little forwards and backwards, or explore pushing out through your hips, through your shoulders. So many different angles we can get at with cat and cow. And as we wrap up cat and cow, we'll find a neutral flat back, hands and knees. Step the toes to the back of your mat. Find yourself in a plank. You can give a little rocking forwards and backwards just to kind of feel into this. So nothing huge, but kind of letting yourself shift forward on the toes, rock back on the toes slightly, feeling into those core muscles holding you up, those biceps toning into center line. And then whether you're on your toes or you come down to your knees and you cross your ankles, we're just doing some slow motion push-ups. So exhales that bring us halfway to chaturanga, and then inhales that bring us back up to the top. And whether you're on the knees or the toes, you want to avoid bending your hips. So you really keep that straight line, and then you're getting to control the weight of your body in space. We'll take an exhale just to lower all the way down to the belly. Make sure your hips can comfortably press against the floor, and then start to lift the chest and the thighs off the ground as you fly your arms backwards in space into locust pose. We're getting into those snake muscles in the body in locust pose. Feeling those core muscles and those back muscles engaging to lift us up and fly us through space. Cross your ankles, bring the back of your left hand to the small of your back, and then reach your right arm forward in space like you're flying through space. Find that lift up through the back of your neck so your chin is slightly back in towards your throat. And then we'll switch that out so you can cross your ankles the other way. Bring the back of your right hand to the small of your back. Swim your left arm forward in space. Find that lift through your chest. On your next exhale, just like you're laying out at the beach, lower down to the ground. Take your arms out in front of you where it feels comfortable. Relax your chin or your cheek or your forehead to the ground or your hands. And then your feet are heavy to the ground, or you're bending the knees, picking the feet up in space, and just giving this roll out through your knees. Windshield wiper motion through your ankles and your feet. And we'll work our way to Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. You can take yourself to tabletop or just lift up into your plank and then shift your hips back and up in space. And as we start to take this big A-frame stretch through the body, focus the length in one leg at a time. So letting one heel pull towards the ground as the opposite knee gets to bend nice and deep. Experience that reach up through your hips as that one leg pulls down, and then switch things out, letting the other heel pull towards the ground. Opposite knee bends. Press flat into the circle of your palms. Spread out through your fingers. Lift up through your hips. Relax the weight of the head to look back behind you in space. Find that deep breathing. Let's bend both of our knees just a bit here. And then extend and reach the hips back up nice and tall in space. Feeling that length in your spine, that engagement of your arms and your core. Now start to take that bend out of both of the knees, letting your heels reach down towards the ground. Beautiful, friends. Inhale the right leg back and up in space. Find a three-legged downward facing dog. Press your right heel to the top corner of the back wall. Let the front of your right hip bone point down and back in space as you press up through that heel. On your next exhale, we're going to bring the right knee over to your left elbow or tricep like a three-legged plank. Inhale to reach your right leg back up, three-legged down dog. And on your exhale, bring your knee now over to your right elbow or tricep. Inhale to reach and extend back up tall in space. Breathe in. And then bring the knee into your forehead, forehead to your knee, and hold. Your back heel will lift high in space. You'll feel those hips drawing up in space. Stay with that breathing. Beautiful, friends. When you're ready, step the foot up between your hands. It might land exactly where you want, or you might walk it up a little bit more. Get a long stance, drop the knife edge of that left foot to the ground, and bring your body up into our warrior two. Your heels are in one line from the front of the mat to the back. Your stance is long enough that you're feeling a stretch in your legs off the bat, but you're also starting to feel the work that you're going to put into your legs here. So as you press down into both of your feet, your thighs are toning back into center line. Your spine is straight up in space as your arms extend. Roll your shoulder heads out slightly, opening through your chest, and then just gaze out across those front fingertips. We want to always check that our knee's not pointing out to the side of the room, but that knee is directly forward, bringing that right sit bone right underneath your body. On your next exhale, just hinge forward and take extended side angle pose, bringing your right forearm to your right thigh. letting that left arm either reach straight up in space or pull out on a diagonal from your back left leg. Avoid popping your left hip back and up in space, so let that left hip pull down on level with your right as you're here. You want to feel a nice lift through the inner right side body. If you would like to bind, take that left hand, the back of it behind you, and slide it all the way up to maybe the outside of your thigh, so maybe even in front of your sit bone to the outside of your right thigh. You'll drop the right elbow on the inside of the right thigh, and then you're bending that elbow and reaching the right hand back for the left or as close as it comes. You might be pulling against your fingers in that bind, or you might be pulling against your pants in two different directions. You want to open your chest to the left wall, even in the bind. Stack the shoulders. Let the crown of the head extend forward in space. Stay with that breath. Stay engaged in those legs. On an inhale, come back up into your warrior two. And then just straighten out through your front right leg. If you're using a block for triangle, take it on the outside of your ankle. And then from there, we're extending and reaching the right arm forward. You're either bringing your hand down into your block or the hand down into your shin, ankle, or the fingertips are touching to the ground. In triangle, that right leg is nice and straight and lengthened. You're stretching through it. You're pressing into the foot, and then you're pulling your hips back away from it. You're letting your hips, as your hips draw back, you're allowing your spine then to pull forward into this crossbar shape. Arms are opened up nice and tall. And as you reach out to all those directions, feel the strength that's plugging back into center line, that's holding you here nice and strong. On an inhale, rise back up into your warrior two. Let that left hand come to your hip thigh or behind you. Extend your right arm up nice and tall in space. And as you reverse your warrior, you can add that bend into your right elbow. Your head can tilt slightly back in space, gazing up towards the ceiling. Again, avoid letting your left hip pop up in space. Reverse warrior is sometimes the deepest part of the warrior two lunge that we can get, feeling right into it. Awesome, Marriott. On your exhale, just cartwheel your hands down into a low lunge position. Turn onto the ball of the left foot. Bring your gaze slightly up in space. We're going to do this a few times. So on an inhale, we're going to stand all the way up into one-legged mountain, bringing your arms in your left knee. And then on an exhale, we're going to shoot to swim back in space into that low lunge. If we're wobbling and wiggling, that's what we want to have happen, right? We're playing with the balance. And you just take this at your own pace. That inhale brings you up into that one-legged mountain, arms in left knee. And that exhale, you're swimming your body back in space. Nice. We're shooting for 3 of those in all. And if you can, you're trying to shoot to let your fingers and your back foot tap down relatively close. We'll meet up in that one-legged mountain, friends, letting your arms and your left knee lift up nice and tall. Playing with the one-legged balance, you want to focus your gaze on an object that's not moving. Nice, Anita. We'll make a twist here so you can start to bring your left hand behind you, and then your right hand is going for the outside of your left thigh. Feel free, if you want to do the extension of your left leg, awesome. Your right hand can grab onto the outside edge of it. Same type of thing. You want to make sure, if you're going for that extension of your leg, you're not sacrificing the length in your spine for the length in your leg. So keep the spine tall, let the length in the leg come second, even if your knee stays bent as you're going for it. Nice, cat. Gazes somewhere to the left or even more towards the back of the room. On an inhale, take the arms back up nice and tall in space. We're almost done. Pretend you've got gymnastic rings you can pull down on. As you're pulling down onto them, start to press the ball of your left foot forward in space, lifting up through your left thigh. And the pulling down on the rings is so we're not falling back as that left leg goes forward. One more inhale, lift that left leg up. Awesome, Christina. On your exhale, bring your left foot to the ground. Relax your arms. Just give a little bit of a shake out through the right leg or through both of your legs. Fantastic. At the top of your diving board, whether you practice with big toes together, space between your heels, or feet at hip bone distance, inhale to reach and extend up into mountain. Interlock the pointer fingers into a steeple. And on an exhale, just start to reach over to the top corner of the right wall as your hips shift to the left. You want to create these nice, big arcs through your body here. And feel the strength of your body holding you up. Inhale takes us back up tall. You can arc back slightly. And on your exhale, just switch things out. So press into your feet, shift the hips to the right, and then reach your arms up to the top corner of that left wall. Nice breathing. Right on, Preston. Inhale or reach your arms up tall in space. Breathe in. And as you exhale, hinge out from the hips and take that swan dive down into your forward fold. We'll do an inhale to a half lift, reaching and extending through the spine. Here for a few rounds of breath, friends. The knees are not locked, right? You got some bend into them. You're either pressing to the top of the shins below your knees or your arms are pressing to your thighs. Your spine is coming out parallel to the ground, and then you want to tone your shoulder blades in. Think about the end of the spine being the crown of your head, so your gaze is actually down as the crown of the head extends forward in space. And then on your next exhale, just fold it all forward. You're welcome to leave the fingertips to the ground as we take this forward fold. You're welcome to do a ragdoll frame, opposite hand to the outside of opposite elbow or bicep. Letting the weight of the arms hang heavy as you sway. Relaxing the weight of the head completely out. Awesome, friends. Vertebrae by vertebrae. Roll that one up to standing. Your head is the last thing to come up as the head stacks up. Inhaling to reach your arms up tall in space. Breathe in. And on the exhale, draw your hands down into your heart center. Perfect. Inhale to reach your arms and your left knee up into one-legged mountain. And as you exhale, swim back into your low lunge position. You can find a full plank, or for a three-legged plank, your right leg reaches back in space. Gaze is down to the ground, crown of the head is reaching forward. Welcome to stay right here or lower halfway down into chaturanga. And then we can do this lift of that right leg super tall in space. You're trying to touch the sky. Awesome, Park. We've got an upward facing dog here. You can go directly to down dog if you want to skip or use a low cobra. Up dog, we're only on the tops of the feet and the hands. It's actually kind of like a plank because there's a lot of strength into it, but of course we get that big back bend. Tuck your toes and shift your body back up into our downward facing dog. We will grab the other side, friends, but come into child's pose. Take your knees out wide towards the edges of your mat. Bring your big toes together. Sit bones are coming back in space towards your heels. Forehead is to the ground. You've got those arms lengthened out in front of you. And find those deep rounds of breath here. Let it fill all the way into the back. Last couple rounds of breath. Get down to that end of that exhale. And then to get into your down dog, again, go through tabletop or just shift into your plank and then lift the hips back up nice and tall in space. On an inhale, left leg back up to your three-legged down dog. Press through your heel, extend back and up in space. Front of your left hip bone is pointing down and back. Awesome, Emma. And on your exhale, we'll bring the knee over to your right elbow or tricep to that three-legged plank. Inhale takes it back up tall in space. Breathe in. And as you exhale, the knee to your left elbow or tricep. Inhale to reach back up. Breathe in. And on your exhale, bring your knee to your forehead, forehead to your knee, and hold. Feel those hips pulling up tall in space, friends. Nice, Callie. Step that foot up in between your hands. You've got your low lunge. We want a long low lunge, so as we spin the knife edge of the right foot to the ground and come up into our warrior two, we've already got that stretch we're feeling in our legs in our lunge, and then we're set up to do the work in it. We're set up to feel the muscles of our legs starting to engage and stabilize and hold and press all at once. You are in the surfer position, right? So you've got to imagine you're on a surfboard. You're on an object that's going to be a little wibbly and a little wobbly, and you're holding yourself nice and strong into it. Again, you're pressing into it. You're holding against it. Perfect. On an exhale, just hinge forward and take that extended side angle pose, bringing your left forearm to your left thigh. Your right arm is straight up in space or pulling out on a diagonal from your back right leg. So same cue, right? Just avoid popping that back hip up. Let it stay down on level with your front hip. If you're going for your bind, you're taking that top right hand, the back of it, to reach all the way to the outside of that left thigh, and you're dropping your left elbow on the inside of your left thigh, and then reaching the left hand back up for the right. Nice, Kelly. You might be grabbing your fingers and pulling, or you might be pulling against your shorts or your pants in two different directions. You want to avoid letting your chest bow to the ground. You're still twisting the chest open to face the right wall. You're still stacking the shoulders, letting the crown of the head shoot forward in space. Nice, Jordan. Okay, inhale to come back up to your warrior two. We're going to let go of the lunge and straighten out that left leg. So if you're blocking for triangle, it's on the outside of your left ankle. When you're set up, you're just reaching that left arm as far forward as it goes and then taking your tilt down, so bringing your hand to your block or to the ground, to your shin, and then opening your wingspan all the way from the ceiling to the ground. Letting your gaze turn over to the right side of the room or twisting up where that top arm is reaching. And again, feel that press into your front foot. Feel the hips pulling back away, so you're strengthening around that left leg as you find the length in the back of it. You're feeling the crown of the head gently pulling forward in space. The strength of your core, the strength of your upper body and your shoulders holding you in that position. On an inhale, just come back up into your warrior two. Let that back right arm come behind you. Left arm reach up nice and tall. Press into that lunge. And then we can bend that left elbow. You can tilt your head back and take your gaze up. Nice, Dan. And just feeling that stretch from your from that hip, right? From your hip crease, your left hip crease, coming all the way up through your rib cage, all the way out through the arm, all the way through your fingers. Okay, on an exhale, we'll cartwheel the hands down. We'll find a low lunge position. Bring your gaze up, and we're going to do 3 of these transitions between low lunge position and one-legged mountain. So you're using your inhales just to nice and slow. Do your best to lift up into your one-legged mountain. And then your exhales to swim your body back in space. have fun playing with your balance inside of these, right? Your balance challenge. That's one of the things I love about yoga, is just getting to play with the balance. So we got 3 of those in all, and then we'll meet up and find that one-legged mountain. And you want to feel that left foot nice and strong, rooted into the ground, spread out into the ground. That right knee drawing up in space, those fingers extending tall. We're going to take this into our twist now, facing over to the right, so your right hand reaches back behind you in space. Left arm can stay forward, or it can just pull against the outside of the thigh. Again, feel free, if you're extending through that right leg, to grab onto the knife edge of it with your left hand. Reach forward through your foot. Don't worry about if there's a bend in the knee, right? We want to keep that spine up nice and tall as we're working here. Awesome, Wendy. And it's a little tricky when you go into a twist in that one-legged balance, because your gaze has to shift. And it's finding new focal points the whole time. But those focal points are so useful to get to fix your gaze on. So we come back to center, re-extend up tall through the arms, and then we're going to grab onto those gymnastic rings, pull down, and start to extend the right foot forward. And really, it's like you're pushing the ball of your right foot forward into the wall in front of you as you lift up through your thigh. Nice, Lindsay. And that's all about avoiding that lean back in space, that it's that power forward in space. When you're ready, just release that right foot to the ground. Give a little release out through your legs. Again, whether you're going big toes together, a little space between the heels, or feet at hip bone distance. And inhale takes us up nice and tall. Breathe into your mountain. On your exhale, hinge out from your hips and take your swan dive down into your forward fold. Inhale halfway up. Use that exhale to refold, and then we're going to grip the peace sign fingers either around the big toes, or you're going to wrap your forearms, the bellies of your forearms, back behind your calves, back behind your Achilles tendon, and you're going to gently pull your way into this. The hook with the peace sign fingers, your palms kind of end up facing one another, and then you're pressing the pads of your big toes down into the peace sign fingers. If you've had any experience at all of doing any type of rock climbing, or even when you've been hiking and you found a branch that you kind of pull yourself up against, I feel that's what we're doing here with the body, right? You're helping to draw your way into the move you're making, into that length of the back of your legs. Nice, Julie. Weighted the head just relaxed out in space here. Using those exhales to let out all that air you breathe in and let things release a little bit more. Okay, last couple rounds of breath. Nice, release it out, friends. Vertebrae by vertebrae, let's roll it up to standing. Let the head be the very last thing that comes up. As the head comes up, inhaling to reach your arms tall in space, breathe in. And on the exhale, just bring the hands down into the heart center. Inhale to reach back up into mountain, breathe in. And then on that exhale, hinge out from the hips and control your swan dive down into your forward fold. Inhale halfway up, lengthen through your spine, refold, hold navel to spine at empty, and then we reverse swan dive, inhaling arms up nice and tall, using a lot of that core and back, hands back down into your chest. Perfect. So left foot is your base. Inhale your arms and your right knee back up into a one-legged mountain, and on an exhale, we'll swim back into a low lunge. You can take this back into a full plank, or for your one-legged plank, just extend your left leg to the wall back behind you, shoulders up above your hands. Stay here, or we lower halfway into a chaturanga. And then you can do this thing where we extend that left leg straight up in space. You'll feel those elbows hugging a little bit closer, get a little bit tighter. You can transition whenever you're ready into upward facing dog, directly to down dog, or replace up dog with a low cobra. We meet in a downward facing dog. From that downward facing dog, bring it to your sit bones. Come onto your back, taking the legs forward. We're going to do a little bit of work for our core muscles on our back. So just begin by bringing your knees to your chest, relaxing your head, and giving a little rock side to side, massaging out the hips, the sacrum, and the low back. Awesome, friends. Reach your legs straight up in space, grab your hamstrings, and then lift your head and shoulders off the ground so your gaze is forward. We'll release the hands away from the legs and reach the arms straight up. You could always take one hand back behind the base of your skull if you want to give a little bit of support here as you extend up in space. Find your breathing as we hold. And you can feel that low back just getting to connect down to the ground, mid back rounding, and then that upper back off the ground. Nice, Oshira. Okay, when you're ready, you're going to take the legs out on that diagonal. And then again, you can have hands behind the head if you want, or you can press your palms together, and it's a combination of reaching the fingers towards the feet, but also letting the shoulders pull back in towards one another at the same time. The legs are at a leg lift. They're not so low that your low back is arching off the ground. We'll bend the knees, grab the hamstrings, and then lift our way up into our seated balance, our boat pose. And really find that length up through your spine in your boat pose. You can take the hands away from your legs, and for a little bit of a twist, cross your ankles, and then bring the back of that left arm just to push to the outside of your right thigh as you open your right arm out to the side. Stay strong with those core muscles. Keep that low back nice and supported. To switch that out, you can take the back of your right arm to the outside of your left thigh. You can cross your ankles the other way if you want as well. And then your left arm opens up to the side. Your chest opens up to the side. Recommit to that length for the last little bit in your spine here. Core nice and strong. Come back to center. Fantastic, friends. We're going to release all the way forward into Sphinx pose. So you can come all the way forward into a plank and then lower that plank down to the ground, or just take your legs back behind you. Your hips need to comfortably press to the ground in Sphinx pose so we can lift up tall through the chest. Perfect. Keep the head upright with some length through the back of it facing forward, or as you find your breath here, just turn your gaze across your left shoulder. Your chin can even pull a little bit down in towards your shoulder. If your gaze is over to the left, nice and controlled and slow, just let it come over to the right. You can feel that way that Sphinx pose really targets our lumbar vertebrae, our low back. On the front side, though, you're getting that full open through the abdominal wall right here. As you come back forward with your gaze, you can keep it upright, or as you can let the chin fall forward, let the head fall forward, and then find some cat just in your upper back. Bring the chest down to the ground, the palms frame the shoulders, tuck your toes. You're lifting into a plank or a tabletop and then shifting your body back into down dog. We'll take the right leg back up in space, three-legged down dog, but this time open the hip and bend the knee. So you're keeping your body exactly as it is in down dog and three-legged down dog, and then you're just doing that opening with your leg, and it's opening your hip so the inside of your right hip is facing to the right. You're lifting that knee up nice and tall, and then you're bending the knee so your heel is coming a little bit closer in towards your sit bones. On an exhale, work the foot up between your hands, and for Warrior One, we can put hip bone distance between our heels. Your left foot won't directly point to the left, it will come a little bit forward, and then your arms come up in space, so it's kind of this hybrid between your high crescent lunge and your Warrior Two. Same thing though, you're feeling the press into the legs, you're feeling that pull against that mat, that's stabilizing. For our humble warrior, just drop the hands behind, interlace your fingers at your knuckles. Inhale your knuckles down, your shoulders squeeze together, the chest lifts, and as you exhale, you bow forward. Let the weight of the head relax. Stretch out through the shoulders here. You can have the heels of the palms rooted together, or the palms can be opened a little further away from one another. Crown of that head pointing right down to the ground. Beautiful breathing. We'll rise back up into our Warrior One, and to start to create eagle arms, you can open your arms to a cactus. The right elbow swings out in front of you. And then we're going to wrap the left elbow arm underneath the right, and then you're looking for the palm, wrist, or thumb to hook onto. Rather than the elbows drooping in towards your chest, you're actively lifting the elbows up in space to create 90 degrees between your triceps and your chest, and then 90 degrees between your forearms and your biceps. We come into a one-legged mountain with those eagle arms. Right on, and then you can stay right here, or for the full eagle, you wrap your left thigh over your right thigh. You start to slide down the wall. And what that means is your spine is still straight up in space as your sit bones come down into that one-legged squats. You're finding your balance by pulling and pushing against your arms and your legs. And you can let that left foot just flex out to the side, or try to push the outside of it to the outside of the standing calf, or even wrap the toes back behind, kind of snaking the toes back behind the ankle. Nice breathing. On an inhale, we'll rise back up into a one-legged mountain, and as you exhale, swim back into your low lunge position. So for half pigeon, friends, you can either just walk the right foot over to the left side of your mat and then drop the shin down, finding that 7 shape, or you could go back to a three-legged down dog and then cross the shin up. You want to lift up to your fingers into upward facing pigeon for a moment here. You can have the top of the left foot to the ground. It can slide back a little bit. You've got the right knee to the outside of your right hand, and you can either have the top of the right foot to the ground, or you can have the side of the right foot to the ground. That's a little bit more intense than the top of the foot. And when you're ready, you take that length in your spine, and you just get to walk it forward. Bring your elbows down to the ground. Head to your hands or head to your forearms. Letting the front of your left hip point down into the ground. You could always turn onto your back in reclined pigeon, right ankle over the top of that left knee or thigh. And there's always the adjusting we can be doing in these poses, the fine-tuning that we can be doing. You're just building more awareness of what's going on with the body. And then you press up to your hands, tuck through the back left toes, and bring that right leg back up to your three-legged down dog. Bring a little bit of movement into it. Whether you're pumping out through the knee or extending or bending the leg. Let the right foot come down to the ground. Feel into your full downward facing dog. Left leg pulls up on an inhale, and then we'll open the hip and bend the knee, letting the toes now drape down over to the right. Really, the heel is coming more in towards your sit bone. The knee is lifting up in space, and then the inside of that left hip is pointing to the left side of the room. Your right heel is still pointing straight back in space. You want to watch your shoulders aren't twisting. They're nice and strong. And then on an exhale, let's just take that foot all the way up in between the hands. For warrior one, your heels can get a hip bone distance between them. You drop the knife edge of your right foot to the ground, but it doesn't have to point directly to the right. It can have a little bit more of a forward angle to it. In warrior one, we're just getting that little twist on through the hips here, knee right over your heel. Feeling that press into both of your legs and that strength and that stabilizing. We'll use that shape for our humble warriors, so swimming the hands behind, interlacing the fingers at the knuckles, and then reaching the knuckles down as the chest lifts up, the shoulders squeeze together, and just dive. Your shoulder could rest onto your thigh. It could come to the inside of your thigh. It could hover up above it. We're inviting the weight of the head to relax like we would in a regular forward fold. Heels of the palms, again, can be close together or can be opened up wider apart from one another. Breathe into that stretch we're creating through the shoulders here. From our humble warrior, inhale to rise back up into warrior one. And then start to create those cactus arms. We're getting into our eagle. So your left elbow comes forward. Right elbow wraps underneath the left, and then you're looking for the palm, wrist, or the thumb on that left hand to hook onto. And again, just checking the elbows. We're lifting them actively up in a way, creating that shape of the eagle arms. You can start to take the weight to your left leg and draw your right knee up. Find somewhere you're looking at that's beyond your arms. Perfect. And then if we take it to eagle legs, you're wrapping the right thigh over the left thigh and then sliding your back down the wall so your spine is still nice and tall. So when we're in chair, doing a squat in chair, our spine is hinging forward and then we're tilting the chest up. In eagle, as we take this squat just in the left leg, we want to keep that spine up nice and straight in space. Again, your right foot is flexed to the side, or the outside of the foot is pressing to the outside of the calf, or you're snaking the top of the foot around the back of the leg, around that back of the ankle. On an inhale, rise up into a one-legged mountain, unwinding the eagle. And as you exhale, make your way back to your low lunge position. So for your half pigeon, you can walk your left foot to the right or take your left leg to three-legged down dog and then cross the shin. Once we've got that left leg where we want it, we're going to lift up onto our fingertips or your fists or your palms, slide that right leg back a little bit. And right now, we're opening the shape of this half pigeon. We're finding, whether it's the top of the foot or the side of the foot to the ground, we're finding the opening of that left knee out to the side. And then you're ready. Just take that length and take that opening in your hips and fold it forward. Let your forehead come down to your hands or down to your forearms. Feel the front of your right thigh pointing down to the ground, the front of your right hip bone pointing down to the ground. Beautiful breathing. Pressing to the hands, take that lift up through your chest. We'll tuck the right toes and then bring that left leg back and up in space and just extend through it or bend your knee or open your hip. Find that last down dog. And then let your knees come down to the ground. Drop one of your hips to the ground. Swing your legs forward in space. Dorsal flexion through both of your feet so your heels push forward as the toes flex back. Arms reach up, and then you're going to walk the sit bones back like 2 steps on each of them to get to the front edge of your sit bones. Inhale to reach up tall, just like you're doing mountain. And on your exhale, hinge out from the hips and dive forward, grabbing your shins, your toes, the feet, the mat. You could take a towel or a shirt or a strap around the feet and the ends of the strap into your hands. You can play with bend in your knees on this too, right? You can add a little more bend into your knees to free up a little more space in your back, or you can subtract that bend as well. Think about your chest is reaching forward if your gaze is up, or that if your gaze is down, the crown of the head is extending forward in space. Get down to the end of the breath that you're on. Inhale, reach and extend your arms up tall in space. Breathe in. And on your exhale, just bring your hands down into your chest. Awesome. Slide your hips up, plant your feet, reach your arms forward. Make sure you've got space to roll your back down onto. And then you're going to use the core muscles, just the vertebrae by vertebrae, lower the spine down. When your head taps down, we're pretty much ready for bridge pose. Your arms reach down along your sides. Your heels step in so your fingers touch your heels so you've got your heels underneath your knees. And then bend your elbows, press your triceps to the ground, close in towards your rib cage. And as you lift the hips off the ground into bridge, let your shoulder blades step in a little closer towards one another so you're making the shelf for your heart. And then lifting up through the chest, really lifting up through the hips. Feel the press into all corners of your feet in that bridge pose. Weight of the head is relaxed. And then in bridge pose, if you are looking up at your belly, if your eyes are open, this is the easiest place to see the rise and fall of your breath with that ujjayi breathing. Nice and slow, vertebrae by vertebrae, roll down into the ground. Bring your knees into your chest, wrap your arms around your knees, and just give yourself a little rock out side to side. We'll stack the knees over to the left. And then reach and extend your right arm out to the right, taking your gaze out across your right fingertips. You can let that left hand grab onto the top and outside of your right thigh and gently pull the knees down over to the side. You can let your right shoulder relax down towards the ground. Feel the weight of your body just getting pulled down on your side, and stay with your breath in this reclined spinal twist. Get down to the end of the breath that you're on. And then bring those knees back up to center. Wrap your arms around your shins and just give yourself a little rock out. We'll switch that twist out. So now just stacking your knees over to the right, onto the outside edge of your right hip. Reaching your left arm to the left and letting your gaze go out across the left fingertips. Your right hand can rest or even pull gently on the top and outside of that left knee or thigh. And you're feeling the breath just snaking its way through your body. We'll get into the last 2-3 rounds of breath here. And then just draw your knees back up into center, friends, when you're feeling ready for it. You can take happy baby if you want. So letting the opposite hand grab onto the outside. Letting the hands grab onto the big toes or the hands to the edges of the feet. Gently draw down on the frame. You're stacking your ankles above your knees so the bottoms of your feet are pointing forward in space. And whether you're in a happy baby or whether you have your knees into your chest, you can let your body just kick a little rock side to side. You're setting yourself up for our final resting pose, our corpse posture Shavasana. So once you feel like you've gotten your back rocked out, you want to prepare your body just to lay flat down to the ground. Add on any layers of clothing to make yourself warm. Use any props around you. Release the weight of the body. Let go of controlling your breath. Your body takes back over on the breath. E con cara satenam carita purik nirab ho niraver akal murid ajuni sebhang guru prasanje Arsech jungai sech heavy sech noniki hosi bi sech e kun kar satinam Carita purik nirabho niraver Akal muri ajuni sebhang guru prasanje Arsech Jungai sech, heavy sech, noniki hosi bi sech. Ekun kar satnam, karita purik, nirabo niraver, akala murit. Ajuni sebhang guru prasanje Arsech jungai sech heavy sech noniki hosi bi sech noniki hosi bi sech E con cara satinam carita purik nirabho niraver akal muri ajuni sebhang guru prasanje Arsech jungai sech heavy sech noniki hosi bi sech. So nice and slow, just start to bring some life back to your body. Moving through your fingers and your toes. You can take a full morning stretch if you like, reaching your arms to the back of the room, rolling out your ankles and wrists. And then take the weight of your body onto its side into a fetal position, curling up and relaxing. Taking a deep round of breath. We'll meet in a comfortable cross-legged position, just like we started our class out with, feeling your spine up nice and tall in space. And then take one more inhale just to stretch and reach your arms out wide and tall, fingertips to the sky. And on your exhale, just bring your hands down into your heart center. The light in me greets the light in you. Thank you so much for coming and creating this beautiful practice today with everyone. Namaste.